following set of stories and content may be triggering for some, and I'm just warning you now that this does talk about the abuse and unaliving of enslaved people. So I just want to put that out there before we continue with this story. So this first one up is called The Singing Slaves. There was a whipping post at Bloody Angle before the Civil War. The slaves there would be whipped until they were unalived, and oftentimes they would come back singing. Now, this was about a mile away from the Spotsylvania courthouse. Now, the person telling this was 13 when the Civil War began, and they said that they lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia at the time. So this next blurb is called Moaning Bones. There was a family as poor as they could be, but they sold junk, and you could sell about anything to a junk dealer in town. Rags, bones, iron, cigarette wrappers, it didn't matter. Now, the boy in the family had a habit of picking up bones, and he would often go to the old burying ground to get bones, but he didn't know that it was a burial ground because everyone thought that when they changed it, they removed all of the bodies. Turns out they didn't. One night, the boy went to go collect bones, and he put them all in an old potato sack. When he got home, he didn't want his mom to see him, so he hid them. Now, around midnight, his mama and daddy heard moaning. They got up and looked around the house, but they couldn't find anything. So they went back to bed, but they still heard the moaning, and it was getting louder and louder. That's when they went and looked under the boy's bed, and they found the bones. So the dad took the bag of bones and emptied them out on the floor, and they were still moaning. So the dad asked his son, "Where did you get these bones?" And the boy said, "I'll show you." And when he took his father to the burial ground, the dad said, "Hey, these bodies weren't moved. You're disturbing the dead. You need to put them back." And so he made his son dig a new hole and put all of the bones back where he got them from. After that, they stopped moaning and the family was okay. This next story is about a woman who really wanted her rowdy neighbors to get out the way, but she might have went a little too far, maybe. So there was this old woman, a little hateful, who liked her peace, and she kept saying her neighbors were so loud and noisy, and she wanted them up out of there. Every night, she would get up and go to the graveyard, get some dust, and come back and sling it at their windows and doors because she was determined to get them out of there. She did it so much that the house ended up becoming old and musty, kind of moldy smelling. Then the people inside started getting sick. Then they started hearing screams every night. Didn't know where it was coming from. Well, they got so scared they ended up packing up and moving in the middle of the night because it became too much. That story is out of Jacksonville, Florida, because of course, it's always Florida. Finally, this last story is called Coffin Knock. When I was a little boy in 1860, I'd pray an old-fashioned prayer that the colored folk used to pray. We would all go to the graveyard to get our souls converted. Well, one day I went to the graveyard to pray, and I went and prayed on the man's grave who had just been buried. Next thing you know, I heard him scruffling and knocking, but I didn't pay it any attention. I just kept praying. Now, that story's out of Hampton, Virginia, and apparently the knocking on the coffin was a common experience for those who would go and pray. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think I'd be able to ignore that. I would have got my butt up out of there. But either way, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.